It's not every day that we get to see the other side of life, you know? Kind of like how the billionaires see the world. In a recent leak, the guest list for the World Economic Forum 2023 in Davos came out, and you will not believe who's in this list. You know what? Comment who you think might be there. Make it as out there as possible. Also, we've been told that inflation has gone down to 6.5%, and I keep asking, do you guys feel it when you go grocery shopping? Is there less of a need to swipe your credit cards just to buy the bare necessities, or are the numbers that they're sharing not even in the ballpark of what we continue to see? One index showed that inflation is actually at 32%. Wow! Does this number actually feel a little bit closer to the real price of goods? Now, before I continue, please take a second, smash the like button. I really appreciate that. This definitely helps me with the YouTube algorithm, especially since I'm pretty sure that this video may get a lot of suppression. What can I do though, right? I'm just here to bring you guys your daily dose of the truth, and I will do that because you guys deserve it. Also, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. Your link is in the description down below. Only takes a couple seconds. All right, so the World Economic Forum has a lot of clout. I know that. You know that. They for sure know that, since they're pretty much inviting some really influential people to attend their meeting in Davos.
Nestled in the Swiss Alps at an altitude of 5,100 feet, Davos is the highest town in Europe. The World Economic Forum says it picked the Alpine Hideaway, about 100 miles south of Zurich, because it was the ideal retreat to get away from all the trappings of daily reality. Another benefit, in 1971, when the meeting was started by German economics professor Klaus Schwab, the town of Davos had recently built a big conference center. It didn't hurt that CEOs and political leaders could also hobnob on the ski slopes. The World Economic Forum styles itself as an independent, nonprofit organization, but it's also big business. Davos is all about access, and in true capitalist form, the more you pay, the more access you get, with your status determined by the color of your badge. Journalists and activists get in for free, but for everyone else who wants to be part of the elite Davos club, fees range from the tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Now, I found that a tentative list was released by Jordan Satchel in his Substack account. Who's attending? Well, here's just a few of the more notable names that you guys may have heard of. Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona, Avril Haines, and the U.S. Director of National Intelligence, the CEO of Amazon, BlackRock. They're having top officials from the Soros Network, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, CEO and top officials from Pfizer, PepsiCo, PayPal, CEO and officials from Procter & Gamble, and even the FBI head, Christopher Wray. Now, I know I read a lot of names to you guys, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. And at some point, they'd have to realize that this all looks way, way too fishy. You guys know what I'm saying, right? It's not like they're hiding whatever they're doing anymore. And let's face it, it's not like we can do anything independently about it. But at least we know that it is happening, instead of being just completely left in the dark as usual. Now, again, these are unelected officials. They're not part of any government. They're not governed like how our lawmakers are governed. They seem to be above whatever government may be placed in front of them. Now, with the politically and monetarily strong guest list, it feels as if the WEF wants to monopolize all of this money and political power in one place. Now, some say that these plans are never going to be adopted by the world leaders, but we're already seeing some of the plans of the WEF come true. You do remember that they want less livestock, right? Less gas emissions from animals. Dutch farmers in the Netherlands are already facing this, as the Dutch government wants to cut livestock numbers by a third. Now, just imagine that. Is this a coincidence? Is this pure coincidence? Now, you might say the WEF never said anything about cutting meat supplies. Well, I'd like to show you Exhibit A, an article from the WEF entitled, "Here's a simple way to convince people to eat less meat." Now, this particular article cites that meat and dairy accounts for about 14.5% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, and that meat eaters can be nudged into making better food choices. They're calling us meat eaters now. That sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? Here's an excerpt from the article, and I kid you not, this is 100% real. Researchers at the WRI asked 6,000 meat eaters to choose options from an online menu. Participants in the control group got a normal menu, while others were offered prompts that asked them to consider eating less meat. These little subtle interventions are derived from a branch of behavioral science known as nudge theory. At its core is the idea that positive reinforcement influences influences decision making. They keep calling people as meat eaters, and at the end, they say that they want to influence our decision making. Sounds like a lot of control to me. Now, here's what I want you guys to realize. That term, decision making, okay? We got to talk about that. That is one thing that we Americans take pride in. You know, we might butt heads, yes. We argue, yes. But we are allowed to make our own life decisions. Now, we can do what we want with our lives because, you know, we are in the land of the free, or so we're told. But who does the Biden administration pick as the best person to embody this freedom in front of the WEF? I always want to say WWEF. Anyway, the FBI. The same FBI that has been found to have been colluding with big tech to sway our opinions, to change our minds on social media. We talked about this for months. To put this cloud over our heads and keep our eyes directed on whatever they say is the truth. Does that sound like a good idea to you? Does this seem as though they're looking out for us? And here is one more to add to that. Do you honestly believe that a group of unelected billionaires are looking out for the common worker, the average citizen, the taxpayer, Social Security recipients, fixed income, SSI, SSDI, Social Security? I mean, you guys let me know what you think. Now, since we've already talked about control, let's now talk about manipulation, this time with the inflation numbers. Now, I found this from Armstrong Economics, and he talks about something very, very interesting. He discusses that their inflation model is at 32% for the last year, and that this is due to them focusing on food, energy, and transportation. They don't include things like paper clips that bring down the average. Now, you see, there is a way to bring down numbers. That is, if you include enough variables into a situation. The more you throw in, the lower the inflation rate. But here's the million-dollar question though. Which number do you think is much more accurate with what we're experiencing? Is it the 6.5% rate of inflation, or is it more like 30% rate of inflation? Let me go ahead and put the exclamation point on this one for you guys. It's showing that Americans are going to be paying at least $1,380 on their credit cards this year, and that's not the balance. That's just the interest alone. That is if the interest rates don't rise again, which they likely will. Now, Pastor Andre Miller of the New Beginnings Christian Church has always tried to help the needy, but he says that they're having a very hard time keeping up. Quote, he said, "We've got a lot more calls from people who are actually working that need assistance. They're working. They're not unemployed. They're coming up short on groceries. They're coming up short on utilities. They're coming up short on car notes. So people are just not being able to stretch like they used to." End quote. We're unable to keep up with the cost of everything, and we're being told that everything is getting better. I also just remember that a lot of people took a buy now, pay later option from past holidays. Now, this is definitely going to hurt. But again, you guys understand what's happening with our bills and all this debt. Are things really getting better for us? Or are we being fed with manipulated numbers? I'm gonna let you guys be the judge on that. But how then can we keep up with the times? Well, improving our cash flow and avoiding building up our credit card debt, that's definitely going to help. Who needs higher Visa, MasterCard, and American Express credit card balances at high interest rates, right? There's a few steps to proper budgeting that I've personally used to get back to financial freedom. I also understand that multiple streams of income through side hustles and small businesses is attainable. Go ahead and pair that with investments in the stock market and the real estate market, and then you've got a win. If you guys want to learn more about creating side hustles, small businesses, even your first online business that you may even be able to manage 100% from your phone, definitely get in contact with me. You can join us in the Patreon family community. There's a link in the description down below. Lots of you guys are already in the group. I look forward to seeing you guys there. Y'all be safe.